everyone! Pineaaronapple here, and it's been a while since we've had a proper anime on the channel. And sure, I could start One Piece as I'm already 4 arcs into the show, but I took a chance on a much smaller and more recent show, Watashi no Oshi wa Akyaku Reijo, or I'm in love with the Villainess, which takes a few tropes like the isekai genre and a more recent subsection of it that basically amounts to being an otome isekai, a phrase I just coined from my head, but I'm sure people have named before. Commonly, this subsection would involve a female protagonist thrust into a situation much like a fictional otome game, like an isekai would usually go, and focus more on romance and character drama than a general plot. The twist this time, from the typical of the genre, is that not only is the main character setting their sights on a romance with the antagonist of the game, but this is a lesbian situation, when usually the trope demands a group of young, hot, and very fit men fawning over the main girl. And here, the boys are avoided by the main character. But there is more to subverting expectations when it comes to this show. The original story was written by the author Inori, and originated as a light novel, which is now finished, and adapted into a manga before this show. The show itself being animated by Platinum Vision, which seems to be a newer anime studio. Up and running since 2016, with an apparent 30 million yen in equity, a number that I was supplied with, but have no idea what to do with, or how to interpret it. So if that interests you, off you go, my friends! So, who are our characters in this otome come to life? First is the protagonist, thrust into the otome, Ray Taylor, gay commoner extraordinaire, in love with the Villainess, as the title would suggest, and is played by Hana Alia, who is a more recent anime actor who seems to have done isekai before, and she gives a pretty good performance. There are some actions from the character that I don't like or don't like to see as tropes, but that's down to the story, which we'll talk about later, but the performance itself is done greatly. She acclimates to the different emotional situations, doing well at being goofy and fun, but knows when to be heartening or sad, and does well in all of it. It's just unfortunate that there are points in the story I don't like and really wanted to skip through, and that those end up sometimes being great parts of the performance, where she acts emotionally or is in desperation. So overall, a great performance, perhaps even detrimented by the story minutely. Next is the love interest, or Villainess, who sports a good dynamic with Ray, but can be unpleasant, just as Ray can when the situation calls for it. Claire Francois is played by Lindsay Shepherd, known for a few more roles than our protagonist, even a role in a hidden object game. And while Claire works well with Ray Taylor a lot of the time, and is fun to see with another character of the show, on her own, if you were to have a common conversation with her, you'd probably end up punching her in the face. She is rather unpleasant for most of the time, but thrives in her interactions, as she warms up to those around her and learns to value her connections, which invests you in her character and makes you yearn for the happy ending, especially as you're set up to care for Ray as well. But still, there are those moments you feel like physically assaulting her, where she goes from tsundere to massive cunt. Our first of the 3 princes, or the game's 3 love interests that are circumvented as such for obvious reasons, is Rod Bauer, played by Corey Wilder, another newer voice actor and probably gets the most material out of the 3 princes, being interested in Ray and her mystery of a personality, as she uses her game knowledge to get ahead. He is your usual playboy stereotype, but I was quite happy that he didn't fall into its trappings. The other 2 princes are less used, although I can name at least one unique thing about each. At most, one having a connection to the church, an organisation I understand in the future of this series will become a bigger antagonist, and the other is quite close to Ray's best friend. They aren't the most explored of characters, but the performances were up to par. Thane was played by Oscar Seung, a much longer standing actor, and Yu was played by Ciaran Strange. Once again, another more recently started actor. Next are the Uraso siblings, one much more central than the other, and these two are a little strange. First is Lene, maid and kinda best friend to Claire for around 2/3 of the show, played by Kara Edwards, who's had a pretty prolific anime career from Dragon Ball to Heaven's Lost Property, and she is probably the only other character that I enjoyed seeing Claire work off of, especially when the drama and plot picks up. The other character involved in Claire's plot, dramatically not really doing anything for me. But Lene is a pretty dynamic character. Even if her plot pays off emotionally with Ray and Claire, I do feel like more could have been done, and I'm sure would happen later in the series. Or at least I hope so. Then of course is her brother, who loves her very much, and who she loves very much. Like, a lot. They really like each other, you know. Lambert is played by very recognisable Jesse James Grell, best known for playing Armin Arlett.
Armin, what are you doing?
Shut the fuck up and let me do my shit!
There is little to his character both before and after his story arc, although the way it ties into the greater themes of the noble versus commoners trope is used well. But I just didn't have the investment like with Lene to really care. Apart from his arc, the only other thing I recall about him is the whole incest thing. And let's see how that's going. Looking at the wiki, oh no. Penultimately is a character as nice as her role is small, Misha Jur. Let's go with that, it's J-U-R. Jur. Maybe she's French. Played by Marissa Duran. She is Ray's roommate and friend, with a role that seems to get smaller as more characters are introduced, but doesn't have anything bad to do. Just a perfectly nice supporting character. Literally in both senses of the term. It's nice to see her supporting Ray and everything, as sort of an antithesis of Claire, who is almost constantly rude and annoying. Lastly is secondary and Season 1 endgame antagonist, Minaria, played by Caitlin Barr. And while the performance is great, and the character gets a couple of good scenes, I despise the way the show used her. The only interesting thing about her is her connection back to the Otome game counterpart. Every turn that she takes is telegraphed and predictable. And sure, it's nice when Ray prevails, some moments hitting you in the feels, but Christ, I just wanted to keep hitting that lovely skip button to leave the exhausting, predictable monotony of this love triangle. Now that we've established the characters, the great to the absolutely exhaustive, let's do a quick rundown of the plot. The first 3 episodes are mainly used to set the characters and their dynamics, with a fair bit of world building, both in display and with Ray's commentary, comparing the world to the Otome. Ray and Claire immediately work well together, both emotionally and comedically. Ray constantly proclaims her love to Claire, as Claire attempts to intimidate and embarrass her, to no avail.
Oh no, I thought it was an ugly bug, but it was just your shoe. Harder. I beg your pardon, commoner. If you have something you want to say to me, then speak quick. I said if you're gonna step on me, then do it harder! Yeah!
We also see that Claire has feelings for Thane. Feelings that almost nothing is done with. But it starts the only good running theme of the season. That being, Ray is so much in love with Claire that she'll do anything to make her happy, including letting her fall in love with another. Or is that just an excuse for her to be selfish and afraid? One of the only good things the final act of the season plays upon. Ray and Claire compete academically, with Ray winning due to game knowledge, which is weaved into the story in an interesting way. And instead of using her win to do something cruel, she just asks Claire to not give up in whatever she does. By episode 2, we start to get an exploration of the magic system, split into 4 elements, and everyone having an attribute. Ray being a rare doublecaster, elements of earth and water. The other elements being fire and air. Ray uses game knowledge, interestingly again, in seemingly threatening Claire's father into letting her attend Claire. And if anything, the way Ray exploits the system in order to get near Claire is creative. Lene attempts to temper the relationship between the two, and the princes, one by one, managing to involve themselves, being in games or in her Claire scenes. It's at the end of episode 3 where we get a really interesting conversation between the main female cast, where Claire becomes uncomfortable by Ray's advances. The discussion finding common ground and allowing Claire to better understand how Ray feels about her and her sexuality in general, which sure stunts the pacing, but it is a really interesting character exploration. And it summits well as Claire humiliates some homophobes insulting Ray, defending her honour. The whole thing is done pretty much with dialogue, which could easily become over-explanatory or very simplistic, but it does well not to be boring or predictable. Episode 4 gives us some nice interactions and exploration of the magic system again, as their tricaster teacher gives us information like the rock-paper-scissors dynamic of the elements. But they are attacked by a magical creature. Small creatures that end up rampaging, with magic and grow stronger and larger. Ray leading a fight against the massive slime and getting another nice moment with Claire, before taming the slime as a familiar once it is reduced to its usual cute form again, after some of the almost expected Japanese tentacle use. The next episode is more magic exploration in the form of duels. We get some more nice interactions between the main couple, and Claire insists another bet, that Ray once again wins, and the duels are fun to see, although the commentating can get a bit grating. Ray makes Claire swear the same thing as the last bet, which I can't tell whether it's cute or pointless, but either way, we get some good visuals and decent character interactions. The episode leaving off with Thane finding Ray's familiar. Next episode we get to properly meet Lambert, and this is when the rich versus commoner arc starts. Lene gets more to do, Ray and Claire on their own get some cute little moments amongst the usual school festive trope, but the episode really excels with some Claire and Lene flashbacks, which are nice, but didn't hold my attention all the way through. As Claire is an interesting character, but in flashback land, she is quite literally a whiny child. We get to see some nice deep characterization, but it still gets on my nerves. Episode 7 continues the festive stuff with a cross-dressing maid cafe, both Claire and Ray looking good in a butler fit, with a mysterious figure stalking the school. More hints of an uprising and a foreign delegate who acts like a dick, who is immediately forgotten about to give us more average flashbacks of Lene and Claire, which are strategically put in these episodes, like when a Walking Dead character gets tablespoons and tablespoons of characterization before being brutally killed. There are more lesbian shenanigans, and Claire gets confused and frustrated with Ray's angle of loving Claire so much she can let her move on, and it's a pretty good moment amongst a mediocre episode. Pretty heartfelt. We get some more world building, and one of the more minor characters assaults a commoner during a scuffle pretty fucking brutally, setting off the bigger conflict between commoners and nobles. Battle lines starting to be drawn amongst the characters, Ray desperately trying to keep Claire on the side of peace. Commoners are ranting at the gates, and the students also start to rage. Ray and Lene keeping Claire under close watch to keep her safe. Ray going so far as to knock Claire out, and tells Lene to keep her under lock and key. Ray knowing that tonight is the night shit goes down. Lene proclaims her care for Claire, fucking hypocrite, and the mysterious masked man allows the commoner right through the gates. Ray stops the evil plan, Lambert attempting to use a magic item to call monsters into the school. Attacking everyone and bringing in Claire as a hostage is Lene, who subtly becomes a reminder of the whole incest thing. Claire is pissed but wants them to give up for leniency, leading the masked man to come in and have Lambert enact the plan anyway. Claire and Ray having to defeat a monster set on them, ending the episode. All of this could probably have been set up better, and considering after the arc finishes the rest of the season focuses mainly on the romance drama than this type of political shonen stuff, but for a one-season show it makes the tone feel inconsistent and bloated. Jumping from school romance to magic to politics and action back to romance. But what we do get, this arc and before, are good. Just felt off-putting with the lack of consistency. And even if the next arc is meant to round things out, it's the part of the show I like the least, with the most cons and few positives. Episode 9 finishes this arc, the Masked Man appearing with a very familiar voice actor, Dallas Reed, and Ray ends up saving Thane from a poisoned blade. The whole protest thing just kind of fucking ends. No more unrest, and the Orosos are awaiting trial. Ray and Claire meet with the king, and Claire begs for leniency, after Claire actually compliments Ray. Thane agrees with the girls, and the king exiles the Alabama twins. And the king's voice actor, Christopher Sabat, may be an accomplished actor, but this must have been an off day, as he speaks quite strangely. But anyway, the episode ends with a nice scene between Ray and Claire as they bid farewell to the siblings. A lot of nice stuff, but, you know, fuck them. And now we enter the bit of the show that I don't like. The next 3 episodes are when Mineria enters the fray, and I'm going to go through this quickly because honestly, I yearn to use the skip button, but didn't on principle. While I love the ending, all the shit that happens with Mineria being antagonistic to Ray, for no other reasons than the love triangle, is tropey and frustrating. Even when giving a faux sense of complication within Minaria's character. Giving Mineria an interesting backstory, but doing nothing with it. She turns from loving Claire to insinuating she'll kind of low-key sexually abuse her, claiming to love Claire and then telling Ray that all the battle for her heart, and if I win, you stay away from her shit, is about getting Ray to be more assertive, which is great character development for Ray, showing it's okay to be complacent like she was before, but you're not likely to get anywhere in a relationship without taking a proper step. But Mineria is severely unlikable in what feels like the role of a character that should be more sympathetic and understood, instead of flipping from caring to a total bitch. So episode 10 and 11 just get worse as they go along, but by the time we get to the second half of episode 12 is when we start to get some good shit. There's a ceremony where you offer up an item to a scale and it measures your love. A final bout with the winner proclaiming their love. And it's clear, even before it happens, that Claire is already hopelessly in love with Ray. Mineria offers up a super pretty and rare blah 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 flower, but instead Ray runs in and offers up a twig. And while the flower blooms, the stick, which turns out to be a super duper rare game item, grows into a strong tree, displaying Ray's devotion. So, of course, Ray gets the chance to ask Claire out. And it's a pretty well done scene, so even with all of its flaws and a continuing story, at least the couple gets together to cap off the 12 episode 1 seasoned anime. Which, if you're an anime fan, you know we get a lot of that don't get any follow-ups. Classroom of the Elite, only just recently being removed from this trope, but probably was one of the most popular examples. So the couple gets together and Mineria fucks off, but not without molesting Ray a bit. God, I hate this bitch. But it allows Claire to vocally stake her claim, just making me smile, which makes me sure that the bullshit we had to sit through was just worth it in the end.
Ray is mine, and I won't let you take her from me. Do you understand? Care to repeat that?
We also get a tease of the future. A depressing future seeming to be awaiting Claire in the game timeline. And of course, the Masked Man mystery hanging over their heads. So overall, we got a serviceable Season 1, and having seen some spoilers from the future of the story from the wiki, spoiler warning, skip to the video's next chapter if you care about that, there is a bigger villain who is somewhere between an AI and a demon queen, and apparently with connections to the church is evil, and the Masked Man is a nun. One of the princes is secretly a chick or something, and a real character description reads, Tame, a powerful AI created by the original Claire in her efforts to save humanity from environmental destruction. Her plan to stop the original Ray from ending the eternal loop system. I have no idea what the fuck that means, or how this show gets to that point. So there is probably little chance that I continue the show in, say, the books or the manga, especially on the channel. But if you want me to, put an ask in the comments and I might read the light novels or manga on my Kindle. But it's probably a long shot. But then again, it strikes up my morbid curiosity, just wondering what the fuck any of that means. Now we get to the ratings. Thank God we got past that last arc in the batshit future. So, let's start with the best boy and the best girl of the anime. Best girl obviously goes to Rei. She's the most fun and emotionally explored character, and her positivity is infectious.
You do like Miss Claire a great deal, don't you?
Oh no, I don't like her. Was that sadness I just saw crawl across your face, Miss Claire? It would bother you if I stopped loving you, wouldn't it? Bother me? It's your affection that bothers me!
The best boy is harder, as almost a majority of the main and recurring cast are female. So that leaves us with a much smaller choice pool. So I suppose I'll pick Thane. Out of the three princes, he is a mood, his attitude making me like him more than the other two, who give off slight sleazy womanizer and femboy vibes. The best episode of the bunch was probably the first. Unfortunately, this is the simplest, with a lot of funny moments, and the setting up of the Rei and Claire relationship. It's all good to see, leaving it as the purest bit of the show, not weighed down by the inconsistent tone and frustratingly conflicting story arcs. Finally, we have the score for the openings and the ending. The opening was Raise Your Hands, with that weird slash and exclamation points in there. Why do the Japanese do this with their song titles? I'm sure we've seen weird things like this on the channel before, with like a star replacing a letter or something. The singers of the song seem to be Rei and Claire's Japanese actors, which is interesting, and the song matches the tone of the show well. Inconsistent. The rappy breakdown bits and the verses vibe with me, but the chorus area at the peak of the song was very whatever to me. And the visuals, while many quite basic images or cobbled together walking cycles on backgrounds, had some pretty good visuals. A lot of the single images standing out, and the action was decent. A 5.5 out of 10. And now we come to the ending theme, Optimum Combination. And interestingly enough, depending on the episode you watch, you get a different version of the song. Episode 1, 3, 6, and 8 having the Rei version, 2, 4, 7, and 9 having one sung by Claire, and episodes 5, 10, 11, and 12 having a mix of both in visuals and the audio. They all are essentially the same, with the vocals changing as said before. The only real noticeable change I could find on a watch of all three is the texting motif. So the visuals like that are appealing at least, and the song is fine, but doesn't amaze me. I'd probably rate it just above the opening, not an often occurrence, at a 6 or 6.5 out of 10. So that was I'm in Love with the Villainess. A show that I saw a lot of potential in and enjoyed a lot of, but had its fair share of problems. The tone was inconsistent, unable to decide between focusing on the romance and drama, political thrills, or the magic fantasy angle, switching between these parts of the whole instead of being the whole, not striking a balance. The performances were all great, especially Rei and Claire, and when the writing wanted to get you feeling things, such as the sexuality conversation, which made me interested in the show's writing in the first place, and the final conflict resolution, but failed to keep coming up with hurdles for the romance and dramatic arcs in the other angles. Whether feeling forced and eye-rolling when Minaria becomes infuriatingly comically antagonistic, or when a class revolution is set up and quelled, not fully but for the sake of the singular season story. After a fight with an unnamed villain who only appears that one time and ditches two interestingly although incestuous characters. They get a good emotional send-off, but I would have preferred if they built up this more wide-reaching and higher-staked angle more, than solving it halfway through and switching to the frustrating third-act breakup BS. That while fitting with the characters, didn't have to. I would have liked something less, I don't want to say stupid because it's so terribly reductive, but if this ending arc was going to match any movie, why make it the Spider-Man 3 bridge scene?
Bravo.
Perhaps the pacing would have been better if Minaria appeared halfway through the season and this love triangle was pushed out of the way to make room for these now explored characters and world to enter the more political and action-oriented tone, instead of switching back and forth without a satisfying payoff. I love the main couple and think there could have been more world building, as the single season's pacing introduced too many elements and characters, either to go through the more interesting ones too early or fall into tropes I despise later on. I would have loved to love this more, but I felt let down by the end, and being given spoilers on the future of this series by the fandom pages, as I attempted to remind myself of the characters as I spoke about them, much like Blue Exorcist, I may just stick to the okay first season I liked, where the part of the story I care about is, in this case being the couple, ending up on good terms, and only continue the series in a season 2 or on my Kindle if I'm given a motive. But for now, I've got the happy ending, and have been told where the main couple ends up, so I'm good. I'll give I'm in Love with the Villainess Season 1 a 5 on pure quality. With how much I enjoyed a lot of it in the moment, I'll officially give it a 6 out of 10. A decent watch with parts that interested and satisfied me, but too much I didn't like balancing it out. I really wish this could have been better, and I'm sure it worked better as a book series pacing-wise, but here my relationship with it is just unfortunate. Thank you everybody so much for watching my review of I'm in Love with the Villainess. And hopefully between Doctor Who reviews and maybe continuing Miraculous and the MCU when I get around to it, I hope I can get more anime reviews in the schedule. Please like the video if you liked it, comment down below if you wish, or if you have anything that you'd like me to review next, and consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, ring that notification bell so that you're told every single time that I make an upload. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next review. Bye!
Toast. A little piece of toast. Because there's so much to choose from. There's brown bread, white bread, all sorts of wholemeal bread. It comes in funny packages with writing on the side.